Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jo, and this is episode 16 of the Society of Unpublished Authors. This podcast is recorded in Western Sydney on the lands of the Darug people. We pay our respects to the original custodians and storytellers of this land and to elders past and present. This episode is going to be all about play and whimsy, and we had the idea for this episode way back in episode 10 when we were talking about creating in the cracks. We heard from mother and son duo Ramona and Joseph Davey about how they get ready for writing, and they both shared these really fun and very playful things that they do to get themselves ready for writing. Ramona's was that she likes to think about what she's going to dress up as the book launch, which I love. That sounds so fun. And Joseph sometimes puts on a hat or talks in a funny voice or acts like one of his characters. If you want to hear them, go back and have a listen to episode 10. It was so fun and so joyful and so playful. We just had to do an episode all about play inspired by them. Now, Sarah, you're from an early childhood background. Do you want to tell us what is play? Is it easy to define?
I think when you think of play and children, you kind of have an idea in your head, and that's not really something you have to define. But with adults, it can be a little bit harder. Like for children, we know that play is how they learn, it's how they solve problems, it's how they make sense of the world. And Maria Montessori says that play is the work of a child. So play is really important for children all through to adolescence to make sense of things.
So we are not children. Do you think it is important for us as well?
Yeah, I don't think your brain just stops at 17 and you're an adult, or at 18 you're an adult and you no longer have to problem solve or try new things. I think it's definitely important. And we were thinking of some things that adults use play for, like playing instruments, playing sports, playing board games, cards, things like that.
Yep. So in relation to us as creators, we possibly don't mean it exactly like that. We mean it perhaps in a different sense. I really like the Merriam-Webster definition of play, which is to toy or fiddle around with something. What do you think about that?
That's so sweet. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the vibe of what Ramona and Joseph were talking about. They were just playing around, getting themselves in the mood to write. I think they're really using play to engage their imagination, to make the writing and the drawing and the illustrating more creative. And I think that us as creatives, we could really benefit from this. And I don't think it's something that perhaps we might think about.
Or maybe we would do it but not think of it as play. When you're on the phone to someone and you're sitting there scribbling and you're kind of trying to keep yourself engaged, and it's just a way to move your hands and do something fun and creative. You don't think of that as playing in the gaps, but you kind of are.
Yeah, and I actually read something today about that, about how useful doodling is in meetings, particularly in keeping focus. So there you go. It is kind of a play, but it is actually using a different part of your brain.
Yeah, interesting.
Keeping you engaged. And I think we need to also realize that it's such an individual thing. What feels like play for me, and I know this for you and I definitely, we are quite different. What might feel playful to me, you might think is
torturous.
Yeah, that's right. The complete opposite. You might think, don't put me down for that. I do not want any part of that. But something that you might find playful, perhaps some kind of Excel situation or something, I would definitely not find that playful in any way. So I think, it's good to remember that it's very individual. At its heart, I think it should be enjoyable.
I agree.
Not torturous.
I so agree. That's we went to an event with the CBCA and we did this illustration, and I was loving hearing them talk, and I was so engaged. But then the second I had to kind of put pen to paper, I was like, this is not fun anymore. I want to hear. I'm loving. We heard from Zoe. We heard from this amazing illustrator. I'm fully blanking on his name, but it was so fun. But then the drawing was not for me. But then I'm sure for other people, that is just so fun to learn from the illustrator how to draw.
Yeah, 100%. And what's fun for you may not be fun for someone else. So we've been delving a little bit into the science behind play for writers and creators. And there is actually a journal, a peer-reviewed journal called the Journal of Play in Adulthood. And I had a bit of a deep dive into that today, just for some of the things talking about play with adults. And there was so much in there. And some of it was about how play is really good for problem solving, which is a big part of writing. If you've got your characters in some kind of plot hole or tangled situation, then perhaps being playful could be a way to get through that.
Yeah, I agree. Especially that's how children think. My son will build these really intricate castles and he'll lock his toys in them. And he's like, how are they going to get out? They're going to climb to the roof and they don't just think, knock it down, take it out, which you might do as an author. They're in a sticky situation. Dissolve the situation. Like, quick, get them out and get to the next part. So thinking like a child, thinking in that play could actually be really good for writing.
I love that. And it also said that play is really good for creativity, which is obviously a bonus for writers. And there were some interesting ideas there that our creativity, I know that I often think of creativity as something we just conjure up from our imagination. But this journal actually said that creativity is triggered often by interaction and engagement with physical materials. So that is like playing. Maybe it's, a lump of Play-Doh. Maybe it's a box of crayons. Maybe it's, cutting up a magazine or something. Maybe it's putting on a hat or putting on, magic slippers or something. You're touching some kind of physical material that is helping your creativity.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And also the second thing, which is really important to us, I know for you and I and for lots of our listeners, not all of our listeners, but lots of our listeners, we're all trying to write for children. And play can connect us with our inner child.
Definitely. And also, this is a bit of a tangent, but I think for women as well, sometimes you feel like you kind of have to stop playing when you grow up. Like you stop playing with Barbies and it starts to not be cool and things like that. But then you see teenage boys, they still play video games and sports. And that's actually a huge part, even as adults, of like, men socializing and letting off steam and being creative is playing. So I think it's also important to kind of keep that going and not let yourself feel like it's silly or it's foolish to play.
Juvenile. Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that's something we can be really mindful of. There's lots of things that are going to stop us from being playful, and I think that worry about that is definitely one of them. So writing for children, we need to remember that we were once children, and play can be a really good way to connect us back to our inner child. It can be a little bit of a gateway. And we've been looking at Julia Cameron, the actual OG about creativity with The Artist's Way, and she's got a lot to say about play in The Artist's Way. And she says that we need to treat our workspaces, our creative writing spaces, as play spaces, and that we should treat our writing time as a play date. What do you reckon about that?
I like that. Mindset, especially I'm not a 5 a.m. writer. Like I'm a late night writer. Once the house is quiet, everything's said and done. So I kind of feel like I could be like, it's play. I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. trying to write and be like, okay, let me play first. So it might depend on how you work.
Yeah, so maybe that late night writing is almost, like remember back to when you're a kid and you stay up too late, maybe under the covers with the torch or something, reading a book way past your bedtime. Maybe that in a way is kind of reconnecting you back to that nighttime secret creativity thing that you did as a child.
Maybe.
Yeah. And she says that I often think of writing and about just being about diligent, about being disciplined, about, the bum glue, sitting down at the chair every day. But she says that we actually need enthusiasm more than we need discipline. And she says that this enthusiasm is really rooted in play. And one of the things you have to do in The Artist's Way is this, it's a 12-week program. I actually don't know anyone who's ever got to the end of the 12 weeks. Like 12 weeks is a long time to lock in. I've got a halfway through it multiple times. But anyway, one of the key things is this thing called an artist date, where you once a week take yourself out either to go and do something artistic or fun, or you do something at home. So it can be, just playing around with some art supplies or something like that. But she's saying that this enthusiasm is really rooted in play, and I like that.
I think that's interesting, especially in like a 12-week program to have like a mandatory weekly play is a very interesting concept.
And it feels so luxurious and selfish, and there's so many things I think that you would just tell yourself, oh no, what a waste of time. I haven't got an hour to go and, fluff around in an art gallery or look at a sculpture or something. But it's just so important, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sticks with you. I went to the Banksy exhibit a few weeks ago, and then kind of the next week, people at work, what did you do on the weekend? I was talking about it, and I just really, I kept thinking about it for a really long time. It's not something that is short-lived and just finishes after the hour. Like art really stays with you.
And do you think it had any effect on your writing? I know you're writing a young adult novel at the moment. Did it make you sort of think about anything differently?
I'm not sure. I do think it was interesting. Banksy is very kind of defiant. He's a very defiant artist and he really pushes boundaries. And I think that that is something that I was like as a teenager. Like that was kind of the mindset. So that was interesting to see someone just be anonymous and free to be defiant and to push and to put out their beliefs and their views. And you would see, you know, he would have these huge paintings in war zones and you would think, who would have the guts to go and do that? But like he's just so free in his art because he's anonymous.
I love that. And you're trying to reconnect with your inner young adult to write this young adult novel, and that really resonated you because you were, from what I've heard, quite a defiant teenager. I love that. So I reckon you might not think it's having an impact, but that probably has done something in your mindset and a shift, or maybe just reminded you of what it felt like to be a teenager and just not wanting to be told what to do.
Yeah. I have the same phone number that I've had since I was probably like 13. I'm not really sure. And when I was writing this book, I have been going back through text messages with like friends and coworkers and looking up keywords. Like if I'm thinking about a certain scene, I'll look up the keyword in my messages and I can see verbatim like what I thought as a teenager, because teenagers don't hold back on texting their friends. Like you say exactly what happened, exactly what you thought about it. What's like
that technology has just given you the biggest gift. What a gift to be able to go back and time travel to your younger self.
I have been reading the funniest things, even just things you don't even think about. Like the week A and week B timetable used to really mess me up. I found like pretty much every Monday I would text this one friend like,
what week is it?
Yeah, what century is it?
Love
and
that.
It was things like that. But yeah, it's really interesting to go back and connect with who you used to be and with your inner child, and then to bring that to your writing. It's a very bizarre feeling, but it is very like nostalgic.
Yeah, because it's almost like a journal in a way. And if you didn't keep a journal, I'm not sure whether you kept a journal as a teenager.
No.
But this is almost in a way a kind of a journal.
I think my texts are a journal. Like
yeah. It's like what you did, who you did it with, what you thought, what was, annoying you at the time and all those things. Yeah, what an absolute gift. I love that.
Yeah.
Hopefully some of these text messages, maybe with the names changed, might make it into your
for sure
novel.
I have so many things.
I love that. All right, so we've talked a little bit about what play is, the definition, why it's good for us. It's good for our creativity, connecting with our inner child. How do we do it? Some people might be thinking, I have no idea how to play. I'm a grown adult. My play days are behind me. Have you got any advice for them or any things that might work for you that could help people play? You did mention going to the art exhibition, so that's kind of a play. Can you think of anything else?
Maybe you could do, if you're doing writing, maybe like a role play. That could even be bouncing ideas off someone, being like, can you pretend that we're in this situation and you did this and I'm doing this to you? Like, what would you do? It doesn't have to be you at home with Barbies, like acting out your scene if you're not down. But if you want to do that, you definitely can.
That could be fun.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. Like some people, when they're by themselves, I think they don't have the sense of feeling silly. Like if I do something by myself, I don't feel silly, but I actually know people that, well, I'm not doing that. Like that's silly. But I'm like, you're by yourself in your own house. You can dance.
Isn't that
and no one knows.
That is so interesting because you can understand people feeling cringe, which we have spoken about in an episode, and silly if others are around. But that is really being detached from your own joyful inner child when you're even embarrassed to do something, when you're by yourself. If there's anyone out there listening who is experiencing this, we challenge you this week to get by yourself and just do something really silly.
Do something cringe. Maybe dance or, I don't know, karaoke.
I find dance a really helpful thing for me. I will often, if I'm just very overwhelmed or just stuck, I will put on music and I will dance. And I love that. And there's so many studies now about how important dance is for cognition and also for dementia prevention. It's like the number one lifestyle thing. Don't quote me on this. I'm not a scientist, but I definitely read this, that dancing can help prevent dementia.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we should get out there and dance. And apparently hip hop is like really, really useful in like cognitive development and retention.
I wonder why hip hop is the outlier. That's actually really interesting. But when my kids have had a rough day and we're all like tired and no one wants to do bedtime, whatever, we'll put on music videos on the TV and then we'll all dance and like try and copy the dances and things. And it's just a good way to kind of like shake off your previous mindset.
It's a total mood changer.
Yeah.
I love it. Go out and dance. And that's why I love going to see live music as well. Like
Yeah.
I will be the one to get up and dance. You have talked about your dance prowess on a previous episode.
Yes.
On Hens Nights. It definitely does something good for you.
Yeah. That's a good one too. Live music, like listening to music.
Yeah. And that can also really help you connect with your younger self as well. If you listen to an album, if I listen to like 1984, hits, that was when I was in year 6, when I was like peak power of my primary school. That will take me right back to being in primary school and, those days.
Yeah, I know there's a few songs, if I hear it, I'm like, this played at my year 6 disco. Like there's no other way that I would ever remember what happened at the year 6 disco if I had not heard Dynamite by Tyre Cruz on the radio. I'm like, this takes me right back.
Yeah, love that. And also smells. Like smells have that same power as well. They're so linked to memory. They can take you right back, good or bad, to things you may have done as a young person.
I don't have that gene.
No, right.
Smells do not
interesting.
do that for me.
I definitely have certain smells that remind me instantly of memories from a long time ago.
I definitely have with food. When you go, if I'm thinking of like arancini, I'm like, oh, I remember I ate that at a work lunch 8 weeks ago. Or like little chips and aioli. Oh, we had that after Banksy. Like I'll always remember what we ate.
Yeah, that's me and my friend Katie. She'll always remember every event, what everybody wore, what dresses they wore or outfits. I will remember exactly what was on the menu, what we ate.
Yes, me too.
All right, so what about in terms of using your hands, things you can manipulate, these materials that we spoke about earlier that can be so helpful for play?
There's probably some ones that are really freeing and up to you, like crayons or clay. And then there's some that kind of have guidelines like Lego if you want to be kind of mindless and just follow the instruction. Colouring in is another one. I know some people love colouring in. Like for me, I find it really boring. But then some people, they just can zone out.
Yeah, it's really mindful for some people. Yeah, it's a really helpful thing to do. Yeah, I love the Lego as well because that's also if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know how to play, perhaps those Lego guidelines are a good way to get you started. Yeah, and even Play-Doh. I know I mind my grandkids every Tuesday. And I love that day because we are out there. Yesterday we were making like volcanoes in the dirt. We're out finger painting, drawing on the windows, making just a mess.
Yeah.
And it's so joyful and it really gives me so much creativity. Like if you go through my notes on my phone, I guarantee you almost every single Tuesday there will be some little snippet of dialogue I've written down from something they've said or an idea for a book completely sparked by my little grandkids.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about play. We feel like we should probably mention something else which is having a bit of a heyday at the moment, and that is the concept of whimsy. We've all heard people that are trying to be more whimsical in their life. Gretchen Rubin, who's quite a well-known Instagrammer, she put out a call for people to let her know how they incorporate whimsy into their life. Go onto her Instagram and read. You will just find so much joy in these whimsical ways people are going about their lives and adding whimsy. Okay, so according to Gretchen Rubin, whimsy is the addition of some imagination and surprise to daily life. Now, this can look a million different ways. It can work in a million different ways. Do you have any ways that you think you can bring whimsy to your writing? And I feel like even a slight sense of cringe just even saying this as a 50-year-old woman talking about whimsy. But I think it's really good and really important.
I don't think it's cringe. I'm definitely the person that has a big collage above my writing desk. All my pens are pink. My keyboard is pink. Everything is nice. My husband got me a Polly Pocket desktop, like little Polly Pocket thing for my desk. So it's all just cute and nice. And I've got my kids' drawings.
You are the whimsy queen.
I just like everything to be cute. And it's not like expensive. It's not well-known, stationery or anything crazy. But it's just having nice things that when you look at it, it's pretty and it's fun.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it can give you a type of energy, a type of positive feeling. just a cozy feeling. I really love this idea of whimsy, and I really think we should bring this more into our writing. Do you have any other ways that you think you could be more whimsical? Anything you haven't done yet?
I feel like you should talk about your idea clip.
My idea clip. Oh, my idea clip. Yes. Sorry. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, so a few years ago when I was doing NaNoWriMo, one of my friends bought me a little hair clip with a little sprout on it. And it was for good ideas to sprout. She did this sprout clip. And I swear every time I wore that clip in my hair, it did actually.
It worked.
Yeah, it totally did. And sadly, I can't find it now. But it may still be in the house somewhere. But that little sprout clip, I'll put a photo of it on Instagram, definitely inspired some ideas. Yeah, I love that. I'd love a little fairy door on my desk.
Oh, yeah.
Like as just a little metaphor for maybe traveling to another world. Like it sounds ridiculous, and I think the men perhaps that I share a house with might think it's ridiculous. But I think I might do that.
Yeah. And they're not your target audience. You're not writing for older not older, adults.
Yes,
You're writing for children.
Or for teenage boys. That is true. All right,
And
I'm going to make my fairy door.
Yeah, I also think I got some feedback on one of my manuscripts, which is very whimsical. It's very magical. It's very, it takes you out of the world kind of thing. And I read it to my kids and they loved it. And my friend that has a toddler, their kid also loved it. But then when I was showing it to some adults, they were kind of like, oh, like are kids still into fairies or are kids still into mermaids or knights? And I was like, my kids love it. Like they are dressed up. They're making fairy wands. We mix spirulina bicarbonate vinegar in the yard and it makes bubbling potions.
Love that.
Like
100%. My grandkids too, I can tell you, they are all in on the fairies, the mermaids, the dragons. Last week I got them at the op shop. These hats,
so funny.
One's a dragon, one's a unicorn. They wore those hats the whole day yesterday to the library, to story time. They are so into whimsy and imagination. And how sad for adults to be saying a kid's still into, like not every kid is, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Some, I mean, one of my grandkids, my grandson is also super into, he's just got a new book about the airport. So into the airport, the baggage handlers, everything. But he's still like, give me a dragon.
Yeah. I think that it's so kind of strange as an adult to be like thinking that kids shouldn't be into anything fun and creative, that they should just be, I know that books are for learning, but you can learn so much through characters in other worlds. And also if we are watching Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and all these really whimsical shows,
totally,
why would we?
Yeah, why wouldn't we want that for them?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we want a magical world? And I used to remember absolutely loving these Meg and Mog books when I was growing up. It was like Meg the Witch, Mog the cat.
Yes, I've heard that.
And I just went to Perth last week and stayed with my niece, who's an adult, and she had bought the Meg and Mog collection from the op shop, and I travelled straight back to being a young child. I remember learning to read with the Meg and Mog books, and I'd sit in the bath and I'd have a little box, a little shoe box, and it was my potion box. And just totally inspired by Meg and Mog, and I'd mix up. I was wondering I didn't get like a skin disease or something. I'd be mixing bath salts and petals from the garden and all sorts of random stuff in my potions in the bath. But I loved it, and I reckon that kids today, you said your kids like mixing potions and things like that. Bring on more whimsy, more magic.
Yeah, especially in the age of things that are so linear, like if your children have screens and it's very much, the game has an A to Z and there's no room to create. And it's really important to just try and be putting as much curiosity, creativity into things children interact with.
I love that. And because some, screens are so passive as well, they're not necessarily having to do the creative work of imagining these things that don't actually exist in real life. I love that. And in the fairy garden too, my grandkids have a fairy garden, and it's just it's fun for me too. I love going to the op shop and finding things for the fairy garden. But I also love just sitting out there in the outdoors with the birds, with the worms, with everything, just playing these whimsical games.
Yeah, it's so nice. Everyone should go outside and try and spot a fairy this week.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Did you go to brownies when you were growing up? No.
I don't think I know what that is.
Oh, okay. It's like
Scouts.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I was a brownie, and brownies were very into fairies. So all our brownie packs were named after fairies and things like that. And we'd often go out into the bush and do these scavenger hunts.
Okay.
But it wasn't like find a stick. It was like find a hat for a fairy.
Oh,
It was so, I can't tell you
that's
how
cute.
beautiful being a brownie was. It was cool.
Is that similar to Steiner fairies?
Yeah, maybe.
Or is that gnomes?
Yeah, maybe gnomes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's the same
That's
idea too, like
whimsical as
connecting
well.
with
Yeah,
nature and
yeah,
whimsy and you know, learning through storytelling.
Yeah, I love that. All right, we've had a really good chat about play and whimsy. Do you have a challenge for yourself this week in regards to this?
Let me have a think.
I can tell you what I'm going to do this week.
Yeah, what's your challenge?
So I often get up early to write before I go to work, and it's cold, and I like to tuck my feet up under me on the lounge, and I don't like to do that in my Ugg boots because they've been, you know, outside. So I'm going to make myself some magical, whimsical writing slippers.
Amazing.
So stay tuned for that one. I could make you a pair if you like. Don't know if that's your thing though.
Yeah, I've got Ugg boots.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right, that's going to be mine. It's going to be like my magic writing shoes.
I like
Very
that.
Wizard of Oz, I think.
And very like kind of, you know how people talk about your toolkit, you know, your inner toolbox, all this, you're very much putting on your armor to write.
I am my magical writing shoes.
Yeah,
yes,
I
it's
like
almost
it.
like my Sprout hair clip
Yeah.
for my feet.
And then so you will just have them for writing, right?
Just
You're not
for
going to have
writing.
them do anything
No,
else.
they're
Yeah.
not for taking
I like
out the
that.
bins or anything like that. Just
Yeah.
for writing.
Something sacred.
Yeah. Yes.
I like
Sacred
that.
magical writing slippers.
Well, I'm going camping this weekend, so I'm hoping that we will get some inspo.
You
Out
can
in the
do
bush.
a fairy treasure hunt
Oh, I could.
with your kids and find little fairy dragon things in the bush.
We so could. They are really only excited for marshmallows. Like I have talked at length about all the fun things we're gonna do. We have a walk planned and all this. Like, you know, obviously I've planned out this trip within reason, like nothing crazy, but they just are like, we don't care. Like, are there gonna be sticks and marshmallows? I'm like, okay.
Once they get there and they're in the great outdoors,
They'll think it's
they'll
fun.
look beyond the marshmallows. The marshmallows will be a highlight.
Yeah,
For sure.
for sure.
You better
I
make
not
sure you
forget
got plenty.
them.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, plenty of marshmallows. All right. Well, I hope you have a great time camping. Stay nice and warm. I will keep going. Well, I'll start my whimsical, magical
shoes.
riding slippers, and we'll see you back here next week. We will put links to the things we've spoken about today on our website, and you can find us on social media. You can find Sarah under author Sarah Della Piedra. You can find me under Joe_Diggs. And on our website, the Society of Unpublished Authors. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.